Welcome to Quoting Life. In this video, we'll be discussing how to stay calm amidst chaos. Your support means a lot, so please consider subscribing to our channel and hitting the bell icon to stay updated and help us create more content on this topic. Let's dive in and explore the art of keeping calm in the storm. The goal of Stoicism is to attain inner peace by overcoming adversity, practicing self-control, being conscious of our impulses, realizing our ephemeral nature and the short time allotted. These were all meditative practices that helped them live with their nature and not against it. It's important that we understand the obstacles that we face and not run from them. It's vital that we learn to transmute them into fuel to feed our fire. Our guides to Stoicism today will be its three renowned leaders, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca. Acknowledge that all emotions come from within. Today I escaped anxiety, or no, I discarded it, because it was within me, in my own perceptions, not outside. It is not outside forces that make us feel something. It is what we tell ourselves that create our feelings, a blank document, canvas, or a marked to-do list is not inherently stressful. It's your thoughts that are stressing you out. Many of us want to place blame and responsibility on external objects because it's easy to do, but the truth remains that all conflicts start internally, in our minds. When we flee from reality at deadline, an urgent email, we are doing nothing but harming ourselves and undermining our self-discipline. The next time you run into an obstacle and feel resistance, don't look at what's around you. Instead, look within. Find someone you respect and use them to stay honest. Choose someone whose way of life as well as words, and whose very face is mirroring the character that lies behind it. Have one. Your approval, be always pointing him out to yourself, either as your guardian or as your model. This is a need, in my view, for someone as a standard against which our characters can measure themselves. Without a ruler to do it against, you won't make the crooked straight. When I first started my blog and called myself a writer, who could I look up to? The courses at my university were irrelevant to my aspiration and desires. Luckily, the internet provided access to great writers. Their stories, work, and admonishments. I can point to someone I respect and say, oh, look at the value they provide, their work ethic, their platform that is worth learning from. Whatever you do, create apps, draw portraits, write books, or make animation films, there are individuals that you can learn from. You can study their story, works, techniques, successes and failures. You can listen to interviews or even reach out to them by sending an email. You can discover patterns of success and apply it to your life. What's important to realize is that this isn't an exercise of comparison. If you don't get a book deal in 8 months, or if your product doesn't hit #1 in the first week, like your role model, that doesn't make you a failure. Instead, how can you learn from your heroes? How are their teachings and principles helping you grow, learn, and create? Everyone, no matter how successful they are, as heroes, mentors to look towards. Recognize there is life after failure. Does what's happened keep you from acting with justice, generosity, self-control, sanity, prudence, honesty, humility, straightforwardness, and all other qualities that allow a person's nature to fulfill itself? So remember this principle. When something threatens to cause you pain, the thing itself was no misfortune at all. to endure it and prevail is great good fortune. You can spend months or even years on a project, only to watch it be criticized, or worse, ignored. I once worked on a project thinking that it would do fairly. Well, I spent an entire year on it, and it was my most vulnerable work to date. The outcome was similar to having a baby and all the doctors laughing out loud, saying, "My goodness, that is an ugly baby." That's what failure feels like when you share a part of you. But recovering from that failure is a practice, a mindset in fact. The lessons that I internalized from that experience is helping me do better work. The thinking goes, no failure, no growth. No failure, no growth. Read purposefully and apply your knowledge. Don't just say you have read books, show that through them you have learned to think better, to be a more discriminating and reflective person. Books are the training weights of the mind. They are very helpful, but it would be a bad mistake to suppose that one has made progress simply by having internalized their contents. Reading books on marketing or business or creativity will supply endless dots that have potential for connection to develop a more in-depth awareness. But what will ultimately make you effective at that craft is by applying it. Reading prepares your mind, even helps. You avoid foolish mistakes, but at the end of it all there must be the result of some action, a failure, maybe a success or a lesson. The purpose of education is to internalize knowledge, but ultimately spark action and facilitate wiser decisions. Reading self-help books will, in that moment, make you feel inspired for a change. But are you following your principles when you have a troll, rude customer, or angry stranger in your face? Epictetus, challenge yourself to be brutally honest. A consciousness of wrongdoing is the first step to salvation. This remark of Epicurus is to me a very good one for a person who is not aware that he is doing anything wrong, has no desire to be put right. You have to catch yourself doing it before you can reform. Some people boast about their failings. Can you imagine someone who counts his faults as merits ever giving thought to their cure? So, to the best of your ability, demonstrate your own guilt. Conduct inquiries of your own into all the evidence against yourself. Play the first part of prosecutor, then of judge, and finally of pleader in mitigation. Be harsh with yourself at times. It's hard to change habits if you aren't aware as to why you didn't do your work today and choose to watch Netflix instead. It's important to be mindful of the urges that obstruct us from showing up, engaging, committing, and being present. Why exactly am I feeling this way? Get to the bottom of that, investigate it, dissect it. When you feel resistance, use that as a cue to go forward. The challenge, of course, is training yourself to think that way. This isn't about talent or some unconscious reflex. The practice of self-awareness to think about your thinking and how you think, feel, and behave is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. When you feel resistance, use that as a cue to go forward. Reflect on what you spend the most time on. A key point to bear in mind: the value of attentiveness varies in proportion to its object. You are better off not giving the small things more time than they deserve. That troll on your Twitter feed, it's probably best to not respond. You don't need to tell them where the unfollow button is located. I'm positive they know. That email, I know it's fun connecting, but can it wait? In my own observations, people who do excellent work, who master their craft, do so because of their ability to prioritize. They honor every hour of their day. If we put cameras behind our heroes, would our work ethic compare? Our focus, our determination to get things done. The other day, I was genuinely shocked at how much time I spend spectating on Instagram, watching other people live their lives and eat boats of sushi. Although these little breaks throughout our days are okay, we must be mindful of how we interact with our distractions, or is that addictions? A lot of spectating and flicking our finger on Gorilla Glass is time that could be spent creating the stuff that people want to see. Remind yourself, you weren't meant to procrastinate. Whenever I have trouble waking up or getting started, I read this passage. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for? The things I was brought into the world to do? Or is this what I was created for? To huddle under the blankets and stay warm. But it's nicer here. So you were born to feel nice instead of doing things and experiencing them. Don't you see the plants, the birds, the ants and spiders and bees going about their individual tasks, putting the world in order as best they can, and you're not willing to do your job as a human being? Why aren't you running to do what your nature demands? But we have to sleep sometime. Agreed. But nature set a limit on that as it did on eating and drinking, and you're over the limit. You've had more than enough of that, but not of working. There you're still below your quota. You don't love yourself enough, or you'd love your nature too. And what it demands of you, people who love what they do wear themselves down doing it. They even forget to wash or eat. Do you have less respect for your own nature than the engraver does for engraving? The dancer for a dance, the miser for money, or the social climber for status? When they're really possessed by what they do, they'd rather stop eating and sleeping than give up practicing their arts. Put the phone away and be present. Nothing, to my way of thinking, is a better proof of a well-ordered mind than a man's ability to stop just where he is and pass some time in his own company. It's not that we live in an age of distractions, but rather an age where we are failing to teach and embrace mindful motives. To be a child in a restaurant playing a game on her iPad is no different than an adult flicking through Instagram when friends are around. Both scenarios are moments of connection to the people around you, not through your screen. Communication and enjoyment. To be present as well as learning to be alone is a habit. Some people are really good at it because they make time to do it. In fact, they need it, or else they would go mad. Throughout your day, find a moment, however fleeting, to just sit and be still. Doesn't matter where you are. Take a few deep breaths. Put your phone on. Vibrate so there's no chance of interruption. And just reflect on the series of events that took place throughout your day. When you're working, be ruthlessly present. Let your mind focus on the task at hand. What you're trying to accomplish, do it with diligence, patience, attentiveness, and care. Sooner or later, you'll realize how much of an asset this is to your creativity and overall quality of life. When you're working, be ruthlessly present. Remind yourself that time is our most precious resource. Not to live as if you had endless years ahead of you. Death overshadows you while you're alive and able. Be good. What I particularly love and find challenging about Stoicism is that death is at the forefront of their thoughts. They realized the ephemeral nature of humans and how this is repeated in many facets of life. It provides a sense of urgency to realize that you've lived a certain number of hours and the hours ahead of you are not moon guaranteed as the ones you have lived. When I think of this, I realize that every day truly is an opportunity to improve, not in a cliché kind of way, but to learn to honestly appreciate what we are capable of achieving and how we are very responsible for the quality of our lives. This makes our self-respect, work ethic, generosity, self-awareness, attention, and growth ever more important. The last thing any of us wants to do is die with regret, hence why following principles of Stoicism puts your life into perspective. It humbles you and should also deeply motivate you. In the words of Seneca, we should hunt out the helpful pieces of teaching and the spirited and noble-minded sayings which are capable of immediate practical application, not far-fetched or archaic expressions or extravagant metaphors and figures of speech, and learn them so well that words become works. The way we lead our lives and do our work must embody the principles that we practice, less comparing, criticizing. Thank you for joining us on this journey of exploring how to keep calm in life storms. Remember, in the chaos, you have the power to find peace within. Keep watching, stay tuned, and subscribe for more insights. Until next time, take a moment to breathe and find tranquility.